The new academic year in Ukraine is unlike any other in the past. This year, due to martial law and the threat of Russian shelling, only half of the schools will open. Those that will offer offline classes must have a shelter, where children should hide in case of an air raid. Do we need to remind you that air raids sometimes go off 3 or 4 times a day in Ukraine? On Independence Day, on the 24th of August, the siren was on 7 or 8 times. In their backpack, every child now should carry an individual set of necessary medicine, a note with information with the child's name and the contact information of the parents and other close relatives. My name is Catherine Litvinchova, and this is the second season of UA, The Day That We Survived podcast. The Russian war against Ukraine has an impact on the entire world. Food blockade, rising prices, and energy blackmail are only part of the damage caused by the Russian Federation, and we cannot be silent about it. You can support our efforts as an independent media and a podcast platform on Patreon via the link in the description. According to the Ukrainian Ministry of Education, as of August, more than 600,000 Ukrainian students were outside of Ukraine. The Ukrainian authorities advise children abroad to study at a Ukrainian school remotely, so they do not lose ties with the Ukrainian educational system. Due to the long COVID quarantine, many children already have an experience with online classes. However, this is very tough for the youngest students, who are 5 or 6 years old and only starting school. For them, Zoom is very difficult. Catherine is a mother of 2 from Odessa. The family left for Poland 2 months ago. Solomia, the eldest daughter, is 6, and this year she is starting school for the first time.
Ми отримали тут песель із статусом «Укр», що означає, що ми перебуваємо у Польщі.
We received a Polish identification number with the status UKR, UKR, which means that we are in Poland due to the war in Ukraine. My daughter is 6 years old, so she's a first grader this year. We enrolled in school back in summer at our place of residence, and now we started studying online. I didn't even look for a school in Krakow because, first of all, I don't intend to stay here for a long time, and I also know that it is quite difficult to find a place for Ukrainians in a school. In addition, there is a language barrier, but the language issue is a secondary reason for us. So, our studies. Before the 1st of September, all parents signed a statement choosing the mode of instruction for their children during martial law. We chose online because, first of all, we are abroad, and second, there were reports that our school was mentioned by the Ministry of Defense of Russia as a place of deployment of the Ukrainian military. Therefore, I would not be able to let my child go to school and wait whether there is a missile strike there or not. You can go crazy like that.
Кожної хвилини прилетить чи не прилетить. Це можна збожеволіти.
Solomia's school has a hybrid system of studies. The class has 29 children. 7 of them study offline, and the rest studies through Zoom.
Вчителька працює, так би мовити, на 2 фланги. І це досить погано.
The teacher works on 2 fronts, and it is not good at all, although it is obvious that she is trying. But it seems to me that the very idea of a mixed instruction method is a failure. After all, it is impossible to hold the attention of online and offline audiences at the same time, especially if we are talking about 5 and 6 years olds. They are just out of kindergarten and they are quite poorly organized. They lack discipline, talk a lot, and ask a lot of questions. They need the teacher to look them in the eye when explaining something, but we only got the side view of the teacher. I'm not even talking about the technical side of the issue, because the child alone cannot manage the process in Zoom. She cannot connect to the conference, turn the microphone on and off in time, or scroll through the screen. That's why I do it, and I'm next to her. In short, the process is not very pleasant. I hope we will get used to it with time and that it will become a little easier for us and the teacher. But I don't know for sure. I understand that everyone is currently working and studying in extreme conditions and everything will take time and we'll see how it goes. After a few weeks, if I don't see progress, then we will switch to the plan B. We will return home and study in another school in a village in Odessa region. So life will tell.
В селі на Одещині. Життя покаже.
Alina is a teacher. She works in Dnipropetrovsk in Donetsk region. The city is not occupied. It is located near the border with Dnipropetrovsk region. But, of course, given the security situation, children study online.
Наша школа знаходиться в Донецькій області, проте наше місто трошки рятує той факт, що ми знаходимося поряд.
I'm a teacher of history, jurisprudence and the civil education at Dobropil Gymnasium number 1. Our city is in Donetsk region, but in the fact that is on the border with Dnipropetrovsk region saves it. Therefore, we are more or less in relative safety, if we can say that, about all Donetsk region. A rocket did hit our school. It was not a direct hit because the rocket fell on the playground. And that is why our school is 50% damaged. This is also why we started distance learning. First, because this is Donetsk region, and second, due to significant school damage. All the windows were broken, and there are many cracks all over the place. The building will need a major reconstruction later on.
І навіть не було конкретного розпорядження, чи йти до школи. Тобто ніхто до кінця не розумів всю серйозність ситуації, тому що в Донецькій області протягом лютого і березня, ось саме у цьому регіоні, було більш-менш тихо. Тобто основна...
On 21st of February, everyone was confused, and there was no significant order, whatever, to go to school or not. No one fully understood the seriousness of the situation because it was more or less quiet in Donetsk region during February and March. The main part of the Russian army went to Kiev, to the north, and to Kharkiv, probably thinking that they would take Donetsk region in the end and surround it in a ring very easily. Therefore, it was possible to stay there for a while, and I was there until the end of the March. My father stayed there. The city was not, and it's not occupied, and I hope that it will remain such. The problem is that nobody knows how to organize the learning process on 21st of February. There were messages from local authorities about what to do and how to get out of the situation. At first they said that children should go to school if they want to, but then they said that children should not go to school. Then they transferred everything to online learning, and we studied as we did during the pandemic. There was nothing fundamentally new about it. The only difference is that if there is siren, we end the class, disconnect, and go to shelter.
Як сьогодні у нас організовується дистанційне навчання, так само, як і у часи коронавірусу, тобто...
Online classes started in September. The school was ready for them.
З вересня, ось в п'ятницю у нас були якраз вже перші уроки, ми з дітьми займалися. 1 вересня у нас було дистанційним.
We have been studying and having classes since September. The first day of classes was online. We made a video about school and the teachers talking about the things that we would do after the victory. But of course, it was all about school. We joked how we would sing and dance and what homework we would have, and it was all funny. This is how we spent the 1st of the September. And now we have electronic journals and everything in a remote format. Each teacher has already established their own rules, such as when you can turn the camera on and off, or how to get a grade if you miss the class. The coronavirus gave us time to fantasize and make a process as convenient as possible. For example, as a teacher, even before the pandemic, I started separate Telegram channels for each class, and there I shared current news relevant to my subject.
Це стало мені дуже у пригоді, коли вже нас там пішов цей ковід і нас перевело на дистанційне навчання.
The teacher says that despite the proximity to the front line, many children remain in the region. She herself left the city.
Дуже багато дітей, до речі, перебуває на території Донецької області. Я ж кажу, місто не є.
By the way, a lot of children are still in Donetsk region. The city of Dobropilla is not occupied, and I hope it remained free. It is located in a such way that heavy fightings bypasses it. But still we get missile strikes, also less often than some other places. For example, on Friday during the class, I heard a siren in some of the location where my students were.
Ось, наприклад, в п'ятницю почалась повітряна тривога.
I told them to disconnect and go to the shelter. I would post videos and tasks on what to do later on. I do not prevent anyone from going to the shelter. I'm currently in Lviv, and there is more secure when there are fewer air alarms. When there is a siren, I go to the shelter and continue the class because I still have the internet.
Скажімо, тут більше безпеки, тут рідше лунають сирени.
That is how we adapt to the new reality. Of course, very young children, those in middle class like grades 5 and 6, get too relaxed. They become less responsible. They do not understand why they should listen to the teacher if the teacher does not look them in the eye. So it is a bit complicated with them. And in the principle, it's easier with older students. They work well with technologies, and they are fine with presentations and online tasks. I have an oral class, and I check all the homework I receive for plagiarism because I do not want anything that was downloaded from the web. That's not interesting. I'll always want the child to work creatively and independently.
Many learning institutions were evacuated from the occupied territories. Since Russia's war against Ukraine has been going on since 2014, our country has already had a similar experience before. For example, in 2014, Vasil Stus Donetsk National University was moved to Vinnytsia, in center of Ukraine. Also, in 2014, Luhansk-based Volodymyr Dal East Ukrainian National University had to be moved to Severodonetsk, which became the regional center after the occupation of other parts in the area. In 2022, this university was again forced to move as Severodonetsk was captured by the Russians, and university buildings were shelled. Now the university is in 3 cities: Kamenets-Podilsky, Khmelnytsky, and Dnipro. After the full-scale invasion, Dnipropetrovsk region welcomed 4 universities and 4 technical schools from Donetsk and Luhansk regions. The Ukrainian Catholic University, located in Lviv, has now been able to return to offline learning. Dmytro Cherenkhovsky, Vice-Rector for Academic Affairs and Internationalization, spoke about the situation.
Hello everybody, glory to Ukraine. My name is Dmytro Cherenkhovsky, I'm Vice-Rector for Academics and Internationalization at the Ukrainian Catholic University. So definitely the educational processes in time of war is really hard. I'm talking with a number of our international partners in different communities all over the world, and everybody is shocked that we actually can have education process, that actually we can manage to have our society active and to be as resistant as possible. But we should take into account that the aim of Russian aggression was not only to destroy Ukrainian state, but actually ruin Ukrainian society, including civil infrastructure, economy, culture, and education. That is why many of educational institutions were shelled and damaged, and many were destroyed. And we don't know when the war ends, but we know that we should resist and should prevent our enemy from success in ruining our future. That basically means that we should educate and re-educate people to sustain our post-war recovery and modernization of Ukraine. And Ukrainian Catholic University is well known for its strategic thinking. And even before Russian full-scale invasion, we have started a number of plannings and developing strategies how we should behave in different situations. And security of our students, security of the faculty members and overall UKU community was a primary task. We had already consulted about our shelters, and luckily our infrastructure is newly built, and we have enough comfortable spaces underground that could be used like shelters. So we invested in building a new extra protection, water supply, food supply, and many other parts of the comfortable staying during the shelter alarms. As a part of the process was actually the digital and financial infrastructure security of our campuses, so we can sustain our educational process in any conditions, even going online when it's needed. Luckily, as I told, we are located in Lviv and our infrastructure is safe. So even we were helping and will continue to help other institutions, other universities and other communities in Ukraine who unfortunately were damaged. So currently we received a confirmation from the state services that we can use our shelters during the educational process. Thus, we should not lose our chance to run process on site. That basically mean offline. This is our plan A for the next academic year, but definitely in case of any worsening of security conditions in Lviv, we will switch to hybrid or even online format. Currently, we have admission process, but what I want to stress is that we have a high interest in UKU.
According to Dmytro, the number of students at the university did not decrease this year.
This year is definitely hard and really special. We can't compare clearly with the previous years, but what we see right now is the same practically number of students interest as in previous years. Even more, this year we have more targeted students who are better oriented in our programs and want directly to go to the concrete programs. I know that in general in Ukraine we have decline in a number of potential students. Many of students flee abroad, many of pupils flee abroad. But I would rather say that UKU was always competing with foreign universities. And it seems that our fresh students turned out to be real patriots, choosing to stay in Ukraine, study in UKU, staying in Ukraine, and actually during studies here take a part in social life, continue volunteering, helping others, and rightly here in UKU we are using the action learning approach and service learning approach that basically means that during their classes they'll have a number of tasks of how they can concretely help within their discipline to the societies and to the communities in Ukraine that are in need. A part of our students are currently at different types of international mobilities, so we are helping our students to get as much international experience, to have close ties with our partners abroad, but also to engage them into the process of rebuilding of Ukraine. So to sum it up, I would like to stress that a number of new applicants, they are actually sharing with us their feeling of personal responsibility and their readiness to be a part of the social transformation of Ukraine. And I should say it's really motivating. So we are ready to do our best to ensure that Ukraine will have new cohort of well-trained professionals, well-trained patriots, and values-driven leaders to make our future better. And I am really gratitude to all students and to their parents of making a good choice, staying in Ukraine and studying at UKU. Thank you. Stay strong, be brave as Ukrainians.
Each region, city, and educational establishment adapts to new conditions in its own way. All the parents also have an opportunity to choose how their children should study. Ukrainians are trying to live in every way possible. They are helping the army while continuing with their routine whenever possible. For example, in Bucha, all 15 schools opened their doors for students and teachers. In 2022, 833 first graders started school in the city. This is the victory of life over death. That was me, Catherine Litvinchova. Thanks for listening. Please share our podcast with your friends and support our project on Patreon. All links you can find in the episode description. Stay safe and listen to Ukrainians.